Good evening, everyone. Once again, this is a Pat and Dee Dee Little Known Black History moment, and Dee Dee is going to listen along. Today, we're going to discuss November 20th, 1962, when President John F. Kennedy signed the Executive Order 11063, also known as the Equal Opportunity in Housing Order. The purpose of it was to prohibit discrimination in the sale, rental, or leasing of housing owned or operated by the federal government or that receives federal funds. Its goal was to ensure that all Americans have a decent home and living environment and that housing benefits are available to all. And its scope was to apply to discrimination based on race, color, creed, or national origin. So with his issuing order, he called continued bias within federally funded housing agency unfair, unjust, and inconsistent with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He assailed the substandard, unsafe, and unsanitary housing in which many African Americans lived. The order came in response to the burgeoning civil rights movement of the early 1960s. However, it was a largely symbolic act. It was up to the state and local housing authorities and funding agencies to police themselves, which left lots of room for non-enforcement. Even though he signed this in 1962, it wasn't until his successor, Lyndon B. Johnson, until 1968 to get a congressional majority to support a fair housing law that included meaningful enforcement mechanisms. But one thing I do want to discuss is the first Black family to integrate into a home, and that was the Horace Baker family. Horace Baker family was the first African American family to move into the all-white Delmar Village neighborhood in Folcroft, Pennsylvania. On Thursday, August 29, 1963, the Bakers were scheduled to move into the Delmar Village development in Folcroft. Horace and Sarah Baker weren't looking to make a political statement when they decided to move from the city to the borough. They just wanted a safe and comfortable neighborhood to raise a family, including their 2-year-old daughter, Terry Lynn. They were both 26 years old with good jobs. Horace was a lab tech and Sarah was a nurse at Pennsylvania Hospital. Sadly, when the Bakers arrived at their home, it had already been painted with a racial slur, and a crowd of locals filled the street. The crowd eventually swelled to about 1,500, and rioters shattered all the windows, bashed in doors, and even ripped out electrical and plumbing fixtures. Early the next day, someone hurled a Molotov cocktail into the home's second floor, starting a small fire. At 4 p.m. Friday, the Bakers had finally moved in, even as hundreds hurled tomatoes, rocks, and sticks at the house. By nightfall, the mob was pushed back by riot cops who swung nightsticks and had called in mounted police. Horace and Sarah Baker, who had left their daughter at a relative's house, spent their first night in Folcroft huddled in a cellar. The riot was put down, but the harassment never stopped. That harassment led the Bakers to leave Folcroft in 1966. Fortunately, today Folcroft is looking to change this narrative. They believe they are a diverse community, and while they will never be able to change the past, they can say they are sorry this happened. So in 2023, they ended up placing a marker in front of the Horace Bakers' home. Thank you to federalregister.gov, Wikipedia, AI Overview, FolcroftBorough.com, and Politico for this vital information. So thank you for watching this little known Black history fact. And if you didn't know, now you know. You take care. Have a great evening.